Hi, my name is Norman Morrow from County Kildare, Ireland, author of In the Shadow of the Judas Tree. Many readers have asked me why I chose to write a dark prequel rather than the intended comedy sequel to Amazon category bestseller Father McArdle's. Touched by the hand of fate? Perhaps, perhaps not. One in four people in Ireland experience sexual abuse. For that reason, some stories must be told. If you look through the haze of injustice into the mirror, I wonder what you will see. I see a writer who returned to the early 1980s, to an Ireland where the walls of fear tumbled and secrets were exposed. Whispers grew into conversations. Victims abused by those whom Irish society venerated found the courage to speak out. I still gasp as I reflect on the name of the charity formed to help the victims. One in four. One in four. Think about that. I did, as I allowed my imagination to drift into realms where it really did not want to go. Today, 34 years on from 1982, they still come forward. They still suffer. We, that's you and I, we must not forget. Temptation, true love, compassion, betrayal. In the shadow of the Judas tree is delivered with an intricate balance of comedy and tragedy. Be assured, explicit sexual abuse is not part of this journey, this book. Join me as Father James Brennan transforms from a naive young curate into one of literature's most colourful characters, as depicted in the series of novels following his later life. This excerpt is taken from one of the lighter parts of the book, where we give balance to the horrific stories that run as a thread throughout the novel. I hope you enjoy it. James shook his head and checked the time. I'm going to miss the train. They dashed the short distance to Connolly Station, purchased a ticket and sprinted to platform number 2, getting there with minutes to spare. Wrapped in each other's arms, they kissed, enjoying a rare moment where the threat of scrutiny by others did not exist. 4 days, whispered James, pushing her hair back from glistening eyes. A lifetime, said Summer. I may find another man to comfort me. They held hands and drifted in silence to the door of the train. Even as he mounted the steps, she clung to him. Ring me, she begged, her fingers losing grip on his as he turned. Outside, she followed his progress to the centre of the carriage. He slung his rucksack under the table between two sets of facing seats and sat at the window. She placed her hand against the glass and mouthed, I love you. With his index finger, he drew several large X's on the grimy pane, then pouted his lips and blew a kiss. High into the air she leapt, caught it and cupped it in her hands, and slipped it into her jeans pocket. God, I love this girl. James reached into his rucksack, pulled out his collar and reattached it. Summer covered her eyes for a moment as if the collar blinded her. A number of passengers stopped at his seat. Each changed their mind and moved further up the carriage. One child sat, made a funny face only to be dragged away by his mother. Somewhere in the distance a whistle blew. The carriage door closed, sealed him from the hubbub of the station. Outside, Summer was downcast, her arms folded. The shield against the knot in her stomach he knew would match his. Click, clack. The wheels turned and gathered momentum. She ran along the length of the platform, waving. Then she was gone, leaving only her image captured in his mind. James looked up as the door between the carriages slid open. Hung on square shoulders, a tweed jacket measured to within an inch of perfection announced its owner as a man of means. Beneath the dense mop of hair here, a youthful face smiled as he stumbled up the swaying aisle. The man, drawing nearer, James realised the boyish looks were a facade, hiding a man of at least 50. James nodded as the stranger slid into the opposite seat. Drumcreeven, he said, proffering his hand, and held James in a firm handshake. Charles Drumcreeven. And you are? James Brennan. Father, I presume. Any relation to Brennan's bread? No relation. My family are farmers. James would have preferred a solitary journey home and time to reflect on unexpected happiness. That's a shame. Lying back against his seat, Charles brushed grime from the knee of his slacks, a casual practice flick of his hand. My baker declines any further custom from me. A trifling sum, I assured him, will be paid in due course. The short memory of people is a tad annoying. My grandfather funded his forebears' business, and now he insults me over a debt of 3,000. Ungrateful, James nodded, stifling a grin. That is a lot of bread. Quiet. Tell me, James. May I call you James? Certainly, Charles, James said, gobsmacked at his unintended aristocratic mimicry. Excellent. What is the main difference between Protestants and Catholics? Answer me, my learned priest. Reluctant to discuss religion, James replied as best he could without being rude. Apart from obvious religious differences, I suspect you have your own observations to share. Quite perceptive. Money. Catholic people have a little, Protestants still pretend they've vaults of the bloody stuff. All money, James, is long gone, and with it the alliances inbreeding in civilized society. Inbreeding? Forgive my coarseness, but let me recount a tale from my youth. My mother insisted I married my comfort cousin Winifred. Family tradition, she said, standing beneath the portrait of the Drumcreeven, my great, 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 and a load more greats grandfather. Bugger if I could argue, not with him glaring down at me. 6 years old, and I was married to a baby. 6, James laughed, then held his hand over his mouth. Sorry, but that's funny. Getting engaged so young is unusual. Not as strange as my wedding night, he replied. His grin suggested he wished to tease James with subjects not usually discussed with priests. Just about to saddle up, I looked down at Wimpy's eager face as she ready to ooh and ah. Protestant ladies of breeding practice such things, you know. I didn't know. James reached up and opened the sliding window. The rush of cool air calmed his desire to kill any further conversation. I saw my grandfather Cecil's eyes staring up at me. The same mischievous glint, the same narrow upturned nose, the same shaped lips that used to curl on the bugger cigar. My shotgun was primed and ready to fire. Otherwise, I'd have leapt from the four-poster bed and hurled myself out the window. By God, she's a true Drumcreeven, and kept me saddled up to the bloody clock. Cock crowed at dawn. James pulled the Bible from his rucksack and slid it across the table towards Charles. Protestants have a reputation for being honest. Swear on this Bible that your tale is true. Drumcreeven leaned forward. Ha! His laugh turned heads at the far end of the carriage, and the thud of which his left hand landed on the good book drew a gasp from the ladies in the adjacent seat. I swear it all to be true, so help me God, Jesus, the saints, and all that malarkey. Pushed the Bible back to James and folded his arms. Are you sure? Bah, bloody priest! With his right hand on the holy book, he whispered. All true except for the bit about Dawn. I'm sure your wife doesn't look like a man. A smile curled Charles's lips. My wife, even in the autumn of her life, is one of the most beautiful women on these islands. Thank you.